Hi everyone. This is not so much Stevie GTR as anything garage probably, because it's not about machinery again. It's about the motorbike. As probably know by now, I've actually got a BMW F800 ST, which is so much lighter to ride and handle than the other one. Better on fuel, a lot cheaper. I got so much money in that Ducati for the amount of time I use it, because I don't ride a lot and I'm a fair weather rider. So, but I want to do a few mods to it. So probably no point in harping on about it. Let's have a look at bike. I'll get sat on it and tell you and show you what I'm going to do. Right, so basically that's the dashboard on this F800 ST BMW, and it on my Ducati, my sat nav were here, which were great because you were looking, the road ahead were there and you were looking at your sat nav there, which were great. Unfortunately on this bike, I don't know if you can tell from the angle of this screen, but it's not possible to put a sat nav there because it would block the speedometer. So that's out of the question. I want a sat nav. I've always had one, but unfortunately I left the nice Garmin on the Ducati because of it were all fitted up for it, and it seemed silly to take it off. Brother-in-law, he's got his here on a bracket and it's mounted here, which fantastic. It's up here. Yeah, that'd work. This side, no, there's nothing there that'd work because you've got your master cylinder reservoir there, so that wouldn't work. Maybe down there, but down there you're looking down a lot, aren't you? Whole idea is you don't have to look away for long before something happens, so you try and that comes out of there, and there's an X in there which is the headstock bearing. They do a mount, a ball mount for that, and it'd make it there, but I'm not too sure because you turn your steering and you've got this, so I don't know about that. Next is handlebar mounts. Now that's what I'm leaning to. Now apparently Wunderlich are a company, funny name but it's German, and they make a frame that fits on here and it cantilevers and you can bring it up and across and down, does all sorts, but it's 75 quid from Germany. I don't want to spend 75 quid. You know me, I'm a tight sod and I try to do things as cheap as possible. So, wonder if somebody's brought them forks through a bit. They're nodding through there. I don't know if that's normal or whether somebody's brought them through to lower front end to make steering quicker. Who knows? So I'm leaning to possibly making something. I mean, with a workshop in there and I've tons of materials of all sorts of stuff. So maybe something on here. But the problem what people have said is if you put it there, you can't get to your ignition because it's at front there. A lot of bikes, your ignition's behind, but on this one it's in front, or normally, you know, further away. So I don't know, I'm going to have to look into that, as to whether I can make a plate on here that'll mount the sat-nav that I'm going to get and still get to my ignition. So this is the beginnings of something. So that's me sat on bike. So I can see my rev counter. My speedo. I suppose I could make a bracket and make it a bit further up, because as I'm going to be riding, so head heights, I've still got loads of view. I could even come up a bit further, but that's the bracket made anyway. It's just loosely fitted because I'm going to make some spacers now, and I've ordered some new bolts for here. So that's basically the bracket. It's quite hard stainless steel, so if it wobbles, if it vibrates, I'll have to put a support in. Oh, there we go. This is with it higher up. My headlight is there. There'd never be a time I wouldn't be able to see it. That's about 2 inches higher, because you can see bottom of plate. I could probably do something about that, cut that plate off and cut this shorter, this plate. But if this is painted black, you won't even notice it. But yeah, so my head height, I'm holding that in line with my head now, so that's as high as I'd ever want to get it. Well, I wouldn't be able to get it any higher. As you can see from bars, it's above bars. So I don't know. What do you think, T? Right, so what we've got here is Mark 1 and Mark 2. Originally it bolted there onto handlebar mounts, but I think the plate was too low down, so I've chopped it off and re-drilled the bottom holes and reshaped it around the ignition. It's nowhere near ignition, but Mark just easier to get your hands in. So that's the bracket done. The sat nav will bolt on like that with the 4 bolts. The electric plug goes in there, but it finishes flush with the back, so this shouldn't affect it, this bit here. So I need to make some spacers now. Have I drawn them? Yeah. I need to make 4 of them. So I'll take out the handlebar Torx bolts. I will then make 4 of those and sit them over the handlebar. It's hard to explain. Basically, a new bolt's going to go right through the middle of that, and it's going to trap between this plate and there'll be an Allen screw all the way through there, an M8 back through original bolts and tightened down. I've ordered them, just an M8 B50 Allen screws, and a lead so I can power this to BMW. I've got the lead for this, but the 12 volt supply switched. There's a harness on the dummy tank that you unclip and it's there ready. So I've ordered a little plug that plugs into it, and then it's all nice and neat without chopping wires. So there we go. I'm going to just go try this on bike now, see if it looks any. I made this plate which I'll include another little video of it, but that's just been shaped around a piece of bar. It's a piece of stainless plate I've cut. Basically cut it with an angle grinder and a cutter blade in, and then filed it all. Put a bit of clearance there for ignition switch, but it didn't really need it. Ignition switch is quite a long way off. And that's the sat nav. So it's quite a big one. I think it's 6 inch. Just hang on, let's measure. Corner to corner, it's like a TV screen, innit? Yeah, 150 over. It's about 6 1/4 inches, that thing, so it's quite big, which would be good for me to see. It's got a sun hood on it. So it's the 4 holes there are for the motorbike handlebar bridges, which I'm taking the bolts out. I'm making 4 spacers to pack it off, putting the spacers in where the bolts were just sat on with a 8mm hole through. Then I'm going to bolt this down onto the original handlebar mounts, and there'll be this spacer on, because the handlebar mounts are arched, and this would, if you rock backward and forward, you couldn't tighten it up. So it's going to be stood off on pillars. So I've got to make 4 pillars, 17.5mm long each. And this is a piece of stainless bar out of the drawer. So I'm going to do the standard. And excuse me if I'm a bit of indigestion tonight. I had burgers for my tea, homemade. Oh, lovely. And pull it out long enough to do the whole job. Now, I'll probably drill a centre in here to steady this, because it's going to be stuck out a long way, although it is very stable bar. It'll spring. I want them to be 17.5mm long, so that's 35, 70 altogether, all the 4. So that's 70. I should be right at that. Centre. I always turned chuck wrong way. Set a 0 on the flash slide and get in 10th out. Okay, so clean that up, and then next job is to bore it and then chop it off. Right, 500 RPM. Again, it's not critical. Slow it down some. Well, I've gone all the way through on that one. Yeah, it's only got the 6.5. That's going to need drilling through a bit more. Right, I've made these spacers, so they're coming out, they're too short. The new ones are 50mm long that I've ordered. And then that goes in there. One in there. And one in there, and one in there. And then the plate goes on there, which gives clearance then for this arch. We clear it, and the plate sits bolt on there. The new bolts say they're 50mm long, they're only 30, I believe. And then the plate will bolt on there. The wiring is just under here, according to BMW. So all being well, when that lead comes that I've ordered, which should be tomorrow or day after, I can wire that up and run a cable probably round back as neat as I can, so it don't look unobtrusive as such. But of course, handlebars have got to turn to lock, full lock each way, so I'll have to allow for that on wiring. But yeah, we're nearly there. A slight problem. So this sat nav, this Ford Sports, is say only an El Cheapo, cost me 15 quid. As that plug that clips into the back, as I'd already said, it's got a little plug and socket here, and then hang on. It's got a little plug and socket here, and then it comes out to a cigarette lighter, which I've plugged into my van, and it works. But of course, I ain't got a cigarette lighter on my bike, and I want to use the dedicated socket that's under the tank, the dummy tank, to power it 12 volt. Now the thing is, this is 5 volts, this is 12 volts. And if you read it converts in here. There must be a little circuit. This is a Garmin one, and that's same from some other sat nav. And they're converting it to 5 volts, which is like USB stuff. So I need to use the gubbins that's in here on the bike to get me conversion from 12 down to 5 volts. Now I could just go out and buy a cigarette lighter socket and plug it in and stuff it under the tank, but vibration and everything, you know what these things are like. Probably not a best idea, is it? A fuse. It is splitting open. See if we can take one side off. Not quite a simple arrangement, but that's what we've got. Just a little circuit board. So I guess if I remove this spring and these two pieces here, when my plug comes, which I've ordered, it's got a pigtail on it, a little lead, they could go in there. And I could connect all this back up again. The supply that's under the tank is fused, so I wouldn't need that. Although I could put a line fuse in if I wanted anyway. So ideally what I need to do then is keep all this as it is. I don't want to start chopping these, because these little thin screen leads can be a bit of a cow bag. The wires are very fine. is to keep all that as it is and remove this spring, which would be positive, now isn't that strange? The wipers, that's always negative, and your pin in the middle is always positive, and they've used a red wire to the shield side, which is a bit daft, innit? So that one can come out. We don't want that. That'll come out. In fact, can I lift all this out? I can. So I'll leave that there, and that's the cover that goes back on. Right, so the bracket I've painted. Now, the colour is satin black. If you're ever going to do something and you don't want it to be seen as such, don't paint it gloss black, because it'll stand out like a tart's handbag. But if you paint it matte black, it's okay, but they're a swine to keep clean. Paint it satin black, you've got the lovely smooth finish, but it sort of peers into insignificance, and it sort of, you just don't see it. So we've painted it tonight with some primer and some satin black. So it's all ready to go. As soon as my bolts come, we can get on with it. I've taken all the fairings off so that I could find this wiring for this sat-nav, and notice this relay were laid in the bottom, and it looks to me like the starter relay, the starter solenoid. It's got big thick cables coming to it, and the bolts are missing. It had fallen off this battery carrier, so I'm just about to try and bolt it back on in a fashion. It's an Allen bolt I've got. I ain't got any X, otherwise I'd do 2 spanners, but I ain't got any X, so I'm going to have to just grip that. Back where it wants to be. So I couldn't find the sat-nav cable, which they said were tucked down here. So I took this side fairing off, and it wasn't there, so I took that side fairing off, and sure enough, there it is. There's the cable. You can see that there. So I've got the pigtail that came today that plugs into that, the 12 volt to 5 volt adapter, and the plug and socket arrangement to get up here. Now I think I'm going to have to take all the screen off and drop the headlight unit down, because I bought some LED bulbs and they're quite unique really, just in a sequence, but they're an high power LED lamp, but they're the same size as a halogen. We've always had problems getting them in because of the fan unit behind them, and this is sort of integral. It's built in the bottom of here. I'm pointing at stuff and I don't even know if you can see it. I'm out in daylight and I can't see the screen, so I'm going to put them in, one dip and one main, but to get at them they're down the front, and to be honest with you, I think I'd be better off dropping headlight unit down, which is what I'm going to do, and then we'll come back to sat-nav. Right, so that's me headlights done and back together, and my side light bulb. I can't adjust them until probably tonight, and then I can see what the beam pattern's like. If they're no good, they're dazzling, I'll take them back out. lovely and bright, and just the side light on its own, just that little LED one you can see in there, just a little 2.5 watt LED. So the next thing is I'm going to carry on and get all this bracket together, sat nav. I'll come back in a bit. Link wants to go in. This I'll fasten to there. Maybe down there. Like that. Right, I better make sure it works. Keys. London.
Turn left.
Well, she told me to turn left. Right, so it works.
After 300 feet, enter the roundabout and take the third exit.
If you can see it, but it's working. That's all I wanted to know. So if I turn the ignition off, it should come up and die. It's still live. Ah, I know why.
Take the third exit.
It's on CAN bus, so it'll take. I see little LED lit up. Still live. Shut down in 1 second. So yeah. Just switch camera back on just to let you know. So all I've done is switch camera off and back on again at the you can see it. That's the cigarette lighter adapter, the LED there, look, it's gone out. It went out after about 3 minutes, probably less. So that is successful. guy on his way to work on his 650 twin Kawasaki. These only have to be torqued to 5. That's my torque wrench, my hand. So, that's the only bit of wire you're going to see. See. Right. Yeah, you can see my clocks. See my ref counter. Yeah, I can see everything. Fine. Switch ignition on. Sat nav's come on. Yeah, I'm in a steel garage and it's looking for GPS signal and it's not finding it, and that's because I'm in a metal shielded garage, so that ain't gonna work out. So I've come in here to try and make it better so you can actually see what we're doing. Anyway, you can see it's working. Let's turn the ignition off and see how long it takes for it to go out. $4.18. I'll cut back in when it does cut out. I'll chop a bit out in the middle, but it's 4.18. There we go. 4.19. 1 minute. It's going to shut off. That's it. That's brilliant. That's exactly what I wanted. And when we get anywhere, if we're going to stop for a while, I'll just do that and just click this out if I can get it out, and bob that in my back box and just leave the cradle. Yeah, that's great there. I'm happy with it there. The rake of this screen, yeah, is such that you couldn't get a sat nav in there because you'd blank your speedo and your instruments off. So yeah, on Ducati it were easier. So yeah, £15. I've had to buy some bolts, but I bought 20 because I'd none in stock, so 16 are for stock. I've used 4. They were £11 something with including postage, so they weren't expensive. So I don't, let's say £2 for bolts, £2.50 for bolts, 15 quid for sat nav, nothing for metal, nothing for dowels. 18, let's say less than £20 fit a sat nav to a bike. Yeah, we're lucky because I got it cheap off a friend, but as I say, it was mine originally and I sold it on. We're not going to have any problems with stirring. Next thing is my gel pad, so right, I'll knock off I hope you enjoyed the install of this, because they're a popular bike, is F800 and F900 and I think F700 before it. The ST has the fairing. The R model don't have a fairing, it's just a little nose thing, I think, a little windscreen. And the GT, which is the later models and European ones, very similar to this, fairing slightly different, but most of this is similar. Yeah. So anybody who putting a sat nav in, don't forget the cable is under the tank. I was shown on YouTube a guy, and it was at the front of the battery, because under here is your battery, and it wasn't, it were at the side, and I had to take this side fairing off to find it. If I hadn't taken that off, I would never have found it. I searched everywhere, and I took this side off. Yeah, still zoomed out too far. Yeah, I took this side off first. Of course it wasn't this side, it was this side. Okay, we're all done. So you've seen what I've done to the bike. It's probably just more or less customising it to me for what I want. You know, it come with side panniers, but I don't particularly like riding with side panniers because it makes the bike very wide. I always prefer a back box where I can get a helmet in and some other bits and bats. So we've got the back box. I've put a nice gel pad tank protector on, and most importantly I've done the sat nav, and I've done it properly, the wiring, so that when you turn the ignition on it powers up, when you turn it off it powers down. I've put some LED headlight bulbs in, which I haven't set the beams yet, so I need to check them, make sure that they're a nice cut off beam. If they are, I'll stick with them. If not, then I don't want to be blinding everybody, I'll take them off and put the halogens back on. What else have we done? Probably not a lot. But yeah, so I took all fairings off to get the headlights off, as you've seen. But it's only loads of little Torx screws. It's not a huge job to do. Quite simple. And all the panels, it's BMW, so good quality. So all the panels just sort of undo and then just clip off. Mirrors off, screen off. I only did that so I could get, well, I had to get to the wiring on the right hand side, as you've seen, for this sat nav mount thing, but the headlight bulbs are finicky. There's a little cap that comes off on both headlight main and dip, and I wanted to tilt the headlight unit down so I could see into it, so I took the whole unit off so I could get into it. It was quite simple, and I didn't have to disconnect anything other than just loads of screws. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, guys. Give us a thumbs up, a comment if you like, and we'll see you on the next one, which will be definitely part, come on, is it 18 or 19? I can't remember, of the Miss Engine. We're making progress.